Hey y'all, I'm James Roy. This is my lovely wife Courtney,
Hi.
and this is the Noise Date Night, a podcast where we talk about our weekly date night movie selections and give you the
Mm-hmm.
scoop. Premium 5-star gold level reviews for those who
7-star.
desire them. 7-star, yes, because of our rating scale. As you can tell, we've shifted locations, and that also means that you can tell that the movie we're reviewing this week is House of Gucci because by the powers invested in me and Apple and AirPlay, with assistance from Vizio, not sponsored, we have managed to produce an image of the movie behind us to give you an idea of what we're reviewing.
Yep.
So, before we get into that, we're kind of going to continue with the theme of Christmas in terms of our icebreaker discussions, and we're going to
Mm-hmm.
get a little deeper into how we feel about other aspects of Christmas.
Yes.
And so, a topic that's near and dear to my heart, food. So,
Gotta love food.
babe, I'll let you go first. Can you go and recount some of your favorite Christmas traditions when it comes to food?
Sure, I would love to. James, I was asked at work, was anybody eat anything interesting for Christmas? And I raised my hand and said, I don't know, tamales. They thought, that is so interesting. But if you are, from a traditional Mexican household, or you just know that Mexicans make tamales at Christmas time, it is a thing, and we're making them, and those are my favorite. I love to eat them. We eat them for Christmas dinner. We eat them, Christmas Eve dinner. We eat them Christmas morning for breakfast, and we eat them Christmas dinner, along with other side dishes and other main dishes. But that's for me, that I'll eat a tamale like 3 meals in a row and not even think twice. I also love the abundance of cookies that we make. I love cookies, especially chocolate chip cookies. It's just an excuse to keep eating cookies all day long, all throughout the weeks leading up to Christmas, the week after Christmas. Yeah, cookies and tamales. It's my jam. What about you, babe?
Well, Courtney and I have had this discussion before, and
Yeah, like 2 seconds before.
I mean, also throughout our
Just
dating
kidding.
life, which is how you got to know me and how we became close and decided, marriage was the option.
Because you came to our house on Christmas morning to meet my whole family.
Yeah. That's a story for another time.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, for me, food is awesome. I love food, but Christmas, along with Thanksgiving, is just not my favorite time of the year for it. I'm gonna go ahead and say that one thing that people will never agree with me on, an opinion that is controversial, but I starve on Christmas and Thanksgiving. I just don't think that they produce very much good food.
Starve is such a
Well, it says
harsh word.
so. I persist off of rolls and turkey or ham, either one. But any other thing that's associated, sweet potatoes, cranberry sauce, you know, mashed potatoes, really anything you can think of that's associated with Christmas that's not meat or bread.
I thought you were talking about Thanksgiving for a second.
I know, right? I got confused because I connected the two of them. It was almost the same thing growing up for me, like from a food perspective.
Well, you married into a Mexi fam, so there's gonna be no cranberry sauce, no mashed potatoes. Um, I don't even know if we have rolls. No, we do have rolls, probably. I don't really eat them, but
But I will.
you might have the same food woes.
Probably. I mean, I've just gotten used to it. I just don't really. Everyone else is like, "Oh, I'm gonna get so fat this holiday," and I'm like, "I'm probably gonna lose weight."
Mm.
I don't know. That's just me. But
Bulk up now, babe.
that's why I bulk up on Chick-fil-A every day of the week. Until recently,
Literally
we've
every day
decided
of the week.
we've reviewed the budget. We've decided that it can't support my Chick-fil-A escapades.
Well, not
So,
every day of the week.
Not every day
I
of
think
the
we
week.
need to just scale it back and
So
pick
we're
and choose which 1 or 2 days of the week you would like to eat Chick-fil-A.
so we're scaling it back, but
Yeah.
I'm still a signature level rewards member for this year and the next because that's how awesome I am at eating Chick-fil-A.
I think I'm still on the silver tier. Is that the
Well,
entry level one?
I mean, since we've got married, since we've been dating, I feel like I've paid for a lot of your Chick-fil-A. So I've kind
You
of
do.
taken
You do steal that status from me. I probably would be at least on red status if that were the
at
case.
least, at
You know,
least. But
Taylor Swift would be proud, but now I'm just still stuck on silver.
I don't know about you.
There's gotta
I'm
be
feeling Chick-fil-A.
there's gotta be an artist that sings about silver. Silver
Oh
bells.
goodness, silver bells
It's Christmas time
in
the city.
city.
I played that on handbells one time.
You did?
Yeah, in 7th grade.
I could
In the
figure it out. I
advanced
don't know.
handbells group.
Oh, I think that's a little bit above my my level of knowledge.
D&E.
I didn't know you were so good with the handbells, babe.
Yeah, I picked D&E because it's the bottom of the court.
But
Bottom of the staff.
on that note, let's kind of try and get into our review of House of Gucci.
Let's do it.
So House of Gucci is a
Mhm.
movie starring Lady Gaga, Adam Driver, Jared Leto, Jeremy Irons, Al Pacino, and yeah, I mean those are the heavy hitters.
Yep.
It budget was about 75 million, and so far in the box office it's pulled 67.2
Mhm.
is the number they've got. Big things to cover with House of Gucci is that the Gucci family was not hugely excited or very big fans
Yeah.
of this portrayal. But in general, it's pretty run of the mill for what we review in terms of its ratings. We'll kind of get into that on the Negative Nancy bit. But yeah, no. What are your surface level thoughts on it, babe?
I think it's a good, drama film, true crime style, and I definitely recommend it if you're into that kind of thing. Obviously, if you like fashion, just knowing a little bit behind, what kind of goes into like a family name like Gucci and building a brand like that. And although I'm sure it's not 100% accurate, I think that it was definitely entertaining. So I liked it. To say that if somebody did this about my family, would I be upset? Maybe, but overall, I thought it was good. It's so tight.
Yeah, I know. No, I thought it was a really solid movie. Ridley Scott, in reply to the Gucci family, said, "You would be so lucky to have Al Pacino portray you." In terms of or his response to the portrayal of Aldo Gucci, and in general, he was like, "This movie's good. I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, if you don't like it, that's your prerogative." Was kind of his approach. Which I mean, Ridley Scott's the same director who directed Last Duel, and his general response was very like, "Well, my movie didn't gross well in the box office because of millennials." Seems like the kind of person who's very quick to pass the blame when it comes to why his movie didn't do well. I certainly think he has high confidence in his abilities. So, I mean, more power to him. I feel that I'd be confident if I felt like I made a good product. And personally, I thought that The Last Duel and House of Gucci were both good movies.
Yeah, I mean, it falls along that drama, genre, and I think it's a good movie if you're into that genre, and it's very well made.
Exactly. All right, so this week, for the first time in a while,
Oh no,
we're gonna have Courtney recount the
so
plot
much pressure
for House of Gucci, and so yeah, I'm excited to hear it because for a while I've been kind of messing around doing it, but now we're about to hear the review from an expert. So,
Oh no,
like, don't build the hype. Don't build the
I'm
hype.
tapping out. This is getting out now. Should I begin?
You should. Oh wait, 1 minute before you begin. This is the spoiler alert. If you're not intimately familiar with the details of the House of Gucci, or sorry, the Gucci family, or if you have not seen it, and then you don't want to be having the movie spoiled for you, then this is the time to drop out. But if you want to hear about it, then continue on. All right, now we're ready to get into the plot, babe. You got it.
Okay. It starts off with Lady Gaga's character. She plays Patrizia, and she kind of comes from this, I guess, lower end family. It looks like more middle class, lower middle class. She's kind of like a socialite, well, an aspiring socialite, if you will, because she kind of hangs around people who are wealthy and who have money and go to parties and things like that. It shows her working at her father's business. He's got I guess they call it transportation business. It kind of looks like, I think they're operating trash trucks, right? Like in
It sounds
managing
like
those
that.
and maintaining those.
She kind of
So
does
it's
that thing that people do where she like tries to upsell her job.
Oh yeah, for sure. And she dresses really cute and nice, but you can totally tell by her dad's business. It's in the middle of nowhere. It's kind of like in a junkyard type style. And so that kind of just shows and establishes her and where she's at. She seems to be around in her early 20s. They don't really give us an age at that point,
Not
but
at that
I
point,
kind of
no.
looked up timelines, from these people's real lives and kind of gauged like how old she would be. She ends up going to a party, and you also see Adam Driver's character, which he plays
Maurizio.
Maurizio and Maurizio Gucci. And you kind of see like his outfit. He's very like Oxford-esque. He looks educated. He looks business type. He's obviously decked out in all Gucci. And it's kind of narrating like, when you're a part of it and who you are. And it kind of like shows a scene and says, "Are you Maurizio Gucci?" And he says, "Yes." And then it like keeps going on with the story. So it kind of gives you like a scene into the future of what is going to happen, to kind of establish who he is. So Lady Gaga's character, Patrizia, she goes to this party and she meets Adam Driver's character and they like hit it off, and she assumes he like works there, and she asks him to make her a drink, and he's just kind of like, "I don't work here." And she's like, "Oh, well, who are you?" And he says his name, and she goes, "Oh, okay."
She knows who he is.
Piqued her interest, right? Well, anyone with the last name Gucci at that time in that era, and this is going to be in the 80s era, right?
Somewhere around there.
Yeah, early 80s. And so obviously at that point, the company had been around already for decades. It seemed like a few decades maybe, and like the first generation is kind of like retiring in that time frame, and so he's like the next generation to take on the company or to be a part of that family. In the business. And so she obviously knows who he is. And so she kind of turns on her charm and is like asking him to dance. And he's just kind of like really straight edged and like, I don't know what to do. And so
I ain't saying she a gold digger.
She ends up, dancing with him, and like it's cute, and they leave, and he just like gets into this abrupt, like, I need to go. This very like Cinderella moment, except, she's looking for her prince and he's not looking for her. So he leaves and she kind of goes about her way. And then all of a sudden she's in town, and she's around, just probably the nicer areas in Italy. They're in Tuscany, right? Or no, they're in Milan. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I said Tuscany when I lived in Milan. They're in Milan. So I kind of knew all of these places, which was really cool for me to see. And so as they're going, she sees him from afar and is like, "Oh my gosh, there he is." So she's trying to like get his attention, and she sees that he goes into a university library, and so she follows him, and she's just like reading a book, and he's like, "Oh, do you study here?" And she goes, "No, I don't even like reading." And she's very open and she's very candid and super upfront, which kind of makes you like her character, right? She seems like relatable, because it's like if you were poor and coming from the wrong side of the tracks and ran into, an heir to Gucci, would you do the same? Probably, if not be terrified to even speak to him. But he definitely has this calm, kind of cool demeanor, and he seems very approachable, even though he's like loaded. So she talks to him, and they're like talking and chit-chatting, and he's leaving, and so she leaves her number on his Vespa and is like, "Call me." And he's like, "Okay." And she's like, "I want you to take me out on a date." She's very forward. He's like, "Okay." And he's like, "You do?" He's like surprised. So
probably not much of a ladies' man.
I guess not. Maybe he seems to be more into like schooling. He wants to be a lawyer, and so he seems more focused on that than like riding the coattails of being a Gucci. So he ends up calling her and asking her on a date. They go on a date, and it kind of just like progresses through their relationship pretty quickly, of like them getting along, them liking each other, and and then she introduces him to her family, and obviously they like him. And then it's his turn to introduce her to his family. And his father, it's said that his mother has passed away already, so his dad is in charge of Gucci with his brother, Adolfo.
50-50 split.
50-50 split, which is Jeremy Irons' character. He's, his dad, and so he meets her, and they go to lunch, and they're talking, and he kind of just like makes it known that she's not from their world just by his conversations and the things he talks to her about. But she quickly changes her ammo to be like all about him and just be excited to be in his presence.
I
And
heard you're an actor.
yeah, and just kind of like talking about him. And he seemed to really enjoy that and enjoy that conversation. And it seemed like they hit it off. And then once Maurizio and his dad get into a room by themselves, he's like, no way, this is not happening. Don't like her. She's not good. And he's like, well, I'm going to marry her. And he's like, fine, then you can be cut off from Gucci.
Well, yeah, he knows what she's after.
Yeah, he knows like she's just after his money. So Adam Driver's character leaves. He gets cut off. He goes and lives with her. And he decides to have a simple life and, live with her and work for her dad because he needed a job. And so it just kind of like shows their relationship, progressing in that way. They get married and, his side, there's only 2 people there and it could just be like paparazzi or whatever. It wasn't like anything like his family showed up. They did not show up to their wedding. It was all her side. And so it kind of shows them settling in as a married couple, like him at work, working for her dad, and she's the receptionist, and they have got their house together, and they kind of just have this simple life.
Yeah.
Well, Adolfo Gucci, which is played by Al Pacino, amazing job. I thought he did great.
Yeah.
He is confronting his brother and is like, why are you not talking to your son? I miss my nephew. We're all about family, and kind of just like the importance about family, which, coming from a Mexican family, it is so important to like forgive and forget. It's important to be accepting. It's important to understand that blood is thicker than water, right? And so he's just kind of like telling him like, this is a family business. You need to mend things with your son. I miss my nephew. And he's like, no. He chose his life. He chose that girl. Like, I'm not, folding. But it kind of shows that he's getting sick and he's old. And so you can kind of predict like he's probably not going to last because he just seemed a little bit more weak. And so Adolfo reaches out to Maurizio and Patricia and kind of says, I want to congratulate you guys and I would love to like meet up with you guys. And of course, Maurizio, Adam Driver's character, is like, no, we're good, but thank you. And Lady Gaga's character is like, yes, we need to have family. It is important about family.
She hides under the Geisa family.
Yeah, she definitely pulls on those heartstrings and knowing that family is an important thing, but she's also blatantly after the money, right? And so
100%.
Maurizio just kind of seems a little naive in all of this. Maybe he's just turning a blind eye. That's kind of how he's portrayed. Anyways, and so they agreed to go meet up with Adolfo and kind of just see, one of their, it looks like one of their, not factories, but kind of like one of their workplaces for Gucci where they have all their cows and they, it's kind of like a leather farm almost where they create all their leather for some of their goods. And so she gets to see like a part of their empire, so to speak. And she just gets like that little taste of that glamorous lifestyle and like what could be hers, in a sense, if he were to just,
the gears start turning.
Go back. Yeah. So you can see her moving. You can see her like trying to play that game of like, okay, how can we position ourselves to get back in their good graces, right? Maurizio seems like he just doesn't care. He's like, I'll talk to my family. They're my family and I love them. Not after being in the family, right? And so it turns out Adolfo has a son as well, which is played by Jared Leto. And his name in that movie is, I kind of forget all their names because there's so many people, but I think I'm not sure. Maybe you can look that up for me.
Paolo. It's Paolo.
Is it Paolo?
It's Paolo.
Okay, Paolo Gucci, right? And so Paolo Gucci is just kind of referred to as like, I don't know, the mistake in the family. Like he's born into the family, but he seems a little off. He's like,
I think the way Aldo puts it is, hey, my son's like a screw up, but he's my screw up.
Yeah, and that's always like the point is that like no matter what, they like love each other. No matter what, they have each other's back. That's the message that the Gucci family portrays, which, if this was my family, I would want that to be portrayed as well. And so, yeah, and he's just a little offbeat compared to the rest of them. He's not very like business-like or business savvy. He's very emotional. He's very creative and he's very eccentric. And that just doesn't kind of fit the mold of Gucci at that time. Yeah. And so they just kind of like, he's just in his own world, but he's, a partial heir as well. So they all have shares to Gucci. And then Maurizio's father dies. And Maurizio decides to join the Gucci family again in that capacity. And it turns out that Maurizio's father did not leave or left everything to him, but forgot to sign the paperwork because when he took his inheritance from him, he relinquished that from him, and then he wanted to give it back once Maurizio decided to come back into the family under the Gucci household.
I think the thing that got him in was the fact that they named their daughter after his wife.
Oh yeah, so they had a child, on their personal life scale, and so like he does reconnect with his dad. He does meet up with him again, and the dad is like, "Yes, welcome back to the family," and he's like, "Okay, I want to be back a part of it. I want to be a part of the family." And he's all being led by Lady Gaga's character. She's the one like planting kind of these seeds, like you belong there. They need you. Again, tugging on his heartstrings to kind of get him to do what would benefit her the most. Very self-centered, but it doesn't really come across the way as much in the beginning. Maybe because I already know what happens at the end, and I'm like, yeah, I can see it all the way
I definitely
through.
feel like knowing the end makes her seem that way. But if you weren't
Yeah,
viewing it,
before you were kind of like, oh, okay, I get the whole family thing. I get she wants money, but like, I wouldn't think she's gonna be like super dark and twisted like she becomes. But if you Google the story about Gucci, like if you're like me and I just want to know more about the actual Gucci family, it'll be spoiled for you anyway. So we'll get there. So she joins the family. They're back into the business, and their longtime family lawyer, who's like a part of everything. He seems to be in charge of like all their accounts, and I don't even remember his name, but he's just in it, and he just kind of like explains when there's legal action. He kind of explains like paperwork and things like that, right? Pretty much all that Gucci first generation has had him around for a long time, and they trust him with everything, and he knows everything financially.
And he's played by Jack Houston or
Yes,
Jack Huston.
Jack Huston. So he comes in and he's talking to Maurizio and Patricia and says, hey, your father left you all these things, but he didn't sign the paperwork. And so, of course, Lady Gaga was just like, what? That is our inheritance. That belongs to my husband and blah, blah, blah.
Well, I think the big issue is that since he didn't sign it, it's not technically inheritance. And so, not that it's not technically an inheritance, but since he didn't sign it, they had to pay some sort of tax, and it was worth like more than that was. They were gonna have to sell their shares.
Yeah, I was
going to
say that, but keep
sorry.
going.
Sorry, my bad. I didn't mean to get ahead of you. I will let you have the wheel now.
Okay. So then he explains all that to her, what he just said. And so she's just like, well, we don't want to pay that kind of money. Or Maurizio doesn't want to pay that kind of money because it is an astronomical number because of how much he's worth. It was about around $4 million, I think, in taxes.
It's like 14 billion.
Or something crazy like that. Yeah. Like in the billions. And so he's just like, I can't pay that just to have the rest of my money be released over time because he'd have to like cash out everything in order to get that money. You know what I mean? It's just like his net worth. It wasn't like cold hard cash. So he's like, there's no way. So of course, Lady Gaga's character is just like a go-getter in general. So she's like, no, this is not going to happen to us. Then it jumps and randomly it happens. Somehow the paperwork goes through. Somehow they're able to get everything, and they don't really say, but it's just more or less implied. Well, there was some shady business happening.
No, they show a shot where she sees the dad's signature and she fixates on it. They have a shot in the movie where she sees it.
Yeah, but they don't actually show her signing the document. That's what I'm saying.
It's just heavily implied.
Well, that's what I just said. It's implied.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Right.
Maybe I'll be more detailed so you can follow too, babe.
My bad.
Okay, so it's implied. We don't see it. We kind of just assume that, she's the one that signed the paperwork, right? It's never said. It's never shown. Is that enough detail?
Yeah. No.
Okay. Obviously, Maurizio is kind of like in the dark in all of this because, like I said, he doesn't seem very business savvy anyways in this realm. He wanted to be a lawyer. And so it just seems like she's kind of just taking over. Okay. Am I good? Should I move on?
It's up to you, babe.
Okay.
Do
you want to take it over?
Do you need me to take over? I can try.
I feel like, yeah, you want to, so go for it.
I got it. So, right there, they are doing the inheritance stuff. That happens. Flash forward. She kind of starts pulling the strings, and so I don't feel like we need to get too specific on this part, but essentially, she kind of starts messing with the family. She kind of plants ideas in people's heads about like what they need to do. Hey Paulo, we need to backstab your dad. And then push comes to shove, they end up getting Aldo Gucci thrown in jail on tax fraud because Paulo tells them that he's been committing it. Because in like Italy versus America, tax is like a different thing. And then once that happens, you kind of get the feel for Jack Houston's character, the lawyer that's known them for a long time, comes back into the fold. um, when Maurizio and Patricia kind of get hit with a tax evasion thing where he's the um he's the only one who knows that they forged the signature, and so it's like, hey, he's the only one who knows, so he's the one who sold us out. And so she's been pulling the strings behind the scenes, kind of forcing all the dominoes to fall to force Gucci into Maurizio's hands. And then Maurizio, in the process, kind of goes, you know what? I don't like the way you're treating my family. And also, he kind of finds another woman, is the thing. So he's like, you know what? We're done. I'm done with you, and I'm going to run the company how I see fit. And I don't like how you're pointing out how our family lawyers is backstabbing and trying to get in there, because that's not his mo. It's not the kind of person he is, and honestly, I don't appreciate you doing that. And so it ends up coming to the light later in the movie. Um, so Maurizio's on his kick of like revitalizing Gucci. It shows that Tom Ford designed for Gucci, shows that like kind of show that's supposed to revitalize it, but in the process, he kind of strays away from older things that Gucci did, and the business is tanking, essentially. And he's kind of like, I needed 5 years. We're 1 year in. It'll come back. And then that's when it's found out that the lawyer dude has actually been working behind the scenes to push all the Gucci's out, and Maurizio was the last domino to fall. So Maurizio leaves that meeting frustrated, never really commits to selling his part of Gucci. But the buyout group that they used to buy Aldo's half is like with the lawyer on this one, and they're like pulling the strings to kind of get that other part of Gucci. Um, and then we flash back to that scene in the beginning of the movie where, Courtney had pointed out the guy says, "Hey, are you Maurizio Gucci?" Um, and then it replays the scene. He hops on his bike, rides through the park. She pulls up to his hotel, and as he's walking up to the door, these two hitmen that have been hired by Patricia track him down and shoot him. And so I just realized I skipped a little bit of detail there. So while she's pulling the strings, once she gets thrown off by Maurizio, she gets frustrated and makes a lot of attempts to get back in there in a peaceful way. I feel like she really stood her ground, and I was like, "You need to be here for your daughter. I still love you. Let's work this out." And she can only take so much of that. And so once she kind of reaches her breaking point, she she meets up with Selma Hayek, who has been playing like this psychic that she meets up with at times. Selma Hayek's character like shows up a bit. It's not like a whole lot. Like, I don't know. If you've seen the previews, you see where she's like, "Do I get what I want?" She's like, "You have to be more specific." But essentially, she talks to Selma Hayek's character, the psychic, and gets her to hire two hitmen, and then these hitmen carry out a hit on Maurizio Gucci and kill him. And then the movie ends with explaining that eventually she, Selma Hayek's character, and the two hitmen all get caught. One of them, the hitman that pulled the trigger, gets like a life sentence, and the rest of them get somewhere in the neighborhood of like 25 to 30 years in prison. And then it just kind of, it goes through the same thing that all the movies that are biographical in nature go through, or things that are based off true events, where it's like, right now, no one in Gucci owns it has any ownership stake in the company. Talks about how their daughter is, I think, the next one up to possibly get a shot at it, but I don't think she actually has a chance because of like, they don't really go into detail, but she exists, and that's all I really got out of it. It wasn't really a helpful or informative blurb; just kind of said that she's still there. Um, and yeah, I mean, that's the movie, the story of betrayal and backstabbing. Um, but yeah, I don't know. What whose performance stood out the most to you, babe?
Um, I think that, Lady Gaga did really good. I know a lot of people have complained about her, but I thought she did pretty good. And I think Jared Leto was really good because he's unrecognizable, which I think anyone who has to transform into a different character like that does pretty well.
Yeah, and I think anyone could agree that Lady Gaga was pretty phenomenal. I think I read some articles before we went to see the movie that led me to believe that some people thought she was like purposefully trying to steal the show, which didn't make any sense to me, because literally, like, her, like, she's the core like star in the show, I feel like.
Yeah, I feel like ultimately it is a story about her, and so maybe, the Gucci family or other people thought we shouldn't have called it House of Gucci, but it's almost like her character trying to kind of figure this
Infiltrate.
world out and infiltrate and take over, basically. So,
No, yeah. But personally, I mean, I thought Adam Driver did a really good job. One of the things that makes me discount his role kind of is the way I've heard it expressed is he's very much a Nicolas Cage type actor in the fact that like when you see him in a movie, you pretty much know what you're gonna get. And he does it really well.
he's like the same character he played in
But
Marriage Story.
yeah, he's the
Did you
same
see that movie?
yeah, he's the same character he played in A Marriage Story. I mean, there's some characters that are slightly like his character in Ridley Scott's most recent movie before this, The Last Duel, is not anything like this one, per se. But in general, there's like a small ballpark. Like if someone pitches you the ball and you hit it, you're gonna end up in the ballpark somewhere, and you'll hit Adam Driver's character. Like it's not so outlandish. Like Jared Leto, in contrast, who knows what he's gonna do? That dude is played so many different things. It's just really hard to tell. But like Adam Driver, I feel like you can pretty much pinpoint where he's going to be, and he's going to deliver a solid performance. So he once again delivered a very solid performance. It was consistent with his mo. But looking at the movie poster right now, that I'm showing on the screen back there, I actually just noticed that of all the actors that are on the poster, the only one that has not won an Academy Award is Adam Driver. Every other, Lady Gaga, Jared Leto, Jeremy Irons, Al Pacino, all of them are addressed as Academy Award winners, and Adam Driver is an Academy Award nominee. So, fun fact for you there. But
Wow, babe. It's like you.
well, I guess it's a fact you can determine if it's fun for yourself. But let's get into the negative Nancy bit. Let's see what the people are saying. That's
Okay.
negative.
Now? You want me to do that now?
Yes.
Okay.
Right now.
Well, it's a good thing I looked it up because that was not planned. OMG, what a mess. 2 duds in a row by Mr. Ridley Scott. Terrible, overrated mess. Okay, I guess they didn't like it. It's an excellent cast, but it's another horrible depiction of how Italians are. So, yeah, I had seen a lot of, like, backlash from Italians. Obviously I'm not Italian, so I don't know, like, specifically if it's being portrayed in a negative way or positive way. Personally, I love the Italian culture. I love Italy. I love the scenes. I love the food. I love the culture, the music, all of that. So for me, watching it as a fan of Italy in general, I was just like, oh my gosh, I want to go back to Italy, and I love Italians. But I heard like the accents weren't great, and so that's what a lot of people were, not about. Gaga's acting in a school play. Gaga's acting is over the top and never feels real. The rest do the best they can with bad material and directing. Adam Driver mails in his performance and are laughing all the way to the bank. Okay.
I mean, I think that kind of falls in line with what I was saying earlier.
Yeah. Like
But
he's going to do a good job.
I still felt like he did a good job. Mailing it in was a little bit
What's
of
the
an
matter for
exaggeration.
you? Mamma mia, which is a Italian expression that means like, oh my goodness, like for real. It's a shame, but this isn't a good movie. Cardboard characters with no depth, weird over the top acting, and let's not talk about the Italian accents. Holy cow. Al Pacino's hair has a life of its own. I agree. It was all over the place. It was like one of those things where it was in his contract where he didn't want a hairstylist, or he was just allowed to say, I look fine and I'm going on set and no one can tell me otherwise because I'm Al Pacino.
It kind of reminded
Which
me
could
of Donald
very well
Trump.
have been because he's a little bit older and he has paid his dues. And yeah, enough said. His accent is hysterical and he has an Italian background, so they were not impressed with his accent. Horrible acting. Lady Gaga, why? Unwatchable. Ugh. Can Lady Gaga please go back to singing?
Ooh.
A slap to the face. What a
Ugh.
mess. Oh my gosh. One of the worst movies of all time. What? Such a waste of time. Just to put into perspective, the amount of users that actually did do, 1 star was only there was like a way to like show the percentage, and it was like, I think in like 2% or something like that.
Well, there was like 22 of them, and there's 317 total reviews.
Yeah, it was 2% gave it 1 star, 1% gave it 2, 1% gave it 3. So, I mean, the majority was like a 4 star and above, which in reality, I think it is like a mid-range film. I think that it was good in a lot of aspects, but Is it going to be nominated? It could. There weren't that many other good movies this year, so it could be a contender.
I think it's definitely in that category. And to correct myself, no, 23,000 reviews. Sorry, I was misreading the words in front of me. Um, but yeah, overall, how did everyone view it from like a perspective of like Rotten Tomatoes and them? Like, how did they rate it before we deliver our ratings?
Rotten Tomatoes is at a 62%, Metascore of a 59. I mean, some critics liked it, some critics didn't. Google says 85% people like it. So, I
Google
mean,
tends to be high.
yeah, because the people who use Google, maybe they are like all about that feature. I've never rated a movie on Google personally.
Same. No,
So,
I'm not gonna lie. I don't think a lot of people do.
yeah.
But who knows? Maybe. Um. So how did you think it did, babe? I scale of 1 to 7, our favorite scale. What is your take on this one?
I would say a 5.5.
You going 5.5?
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna go with a 4.5. I thought it was really good, but I think that I see some merit to a lot of the 1 star reviews in terms of a lot of times in my mind the Italian accent, which I know you're a lot more familiar with it than I am, so this is just like me spitballing here. No experience hearing an Italian accent, but it all did seem very animated and kind of over the top.
Yeah, I think the accents, yeah, but if that's the case, then you should have just like casted like straight up Italians, like real
Probably.
northern Italians, which to
But
me, it's even like living in Milan, it was a different accent in northern Italy than southern Italy. So like, you know, how, like Games of Thrones, they all have different accents, but they're all
yeah.
from the UK. It's because that is legit how it is, like different regions, different accents,
Okay.
kind of like how the United States are.
Well, I
So
don't know.
yeah, I think yeah, if they wanted to be more authentic, but I think if you're looking for like a good time drama and like somewhat based off a true story, you know, I mean, the real life Patrizia, she had 2 children before, 2 Gucci children, and so I think that, you know, only displaying one, that already just tells you that they've left out, you know, some key details of their lives in general to make it more dramatic possibly, which a lot of people do complain about movies like that when they kind of change things for the dramatic effect. But if you're looking at it from like in the perspective of like this just could be a movie about a famous family and it doesn't have to be the Gucci's in general, I thought it was well made.
Yeah, I guess I see it, but also I mean I think that your tastes in like true crime and drama definitely were played to here. Whereas like I guess I don't not like those, but I think you like them more than I do, which is
Absolutely.
probably why you scored it
Just like
higher
in
than me.
Christmas movies. Should we score Home Alone 3 since that was the Christmas movie we watched this week?
Should we? It's like Die Hard, but with a kid.
Mm.
Next
Your
movie.
parents were watching Die Hard,
Yeah, that's what they said.
so you are related.
I guess so. Well, to be fair, I only saw Die Hard like in 2020 was like the first time that I saw it.
Isn't there like a
So
few of them?
there's like 4.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've seen like the
It's like
third or fourth one. I've just never seen the like first one.
it's like Die Hard,
So
Die Hard 2, Die Harder.
it was like No Time to Die. Oh wait, no, that was the Bond movie.
There's what is it? Die Hard.
Glad I got a laugh out of you, babe.
Live Free, Die Hard, and then
Live Free, Die Hard.
Die
I feel like
Hard,
that's a rap song, but oh well.
and then Die Hard.
Harder.
Die Another Day.
Die Another Day. Live Another Day.
Live to
That's
die.
another Bond movie, I thought. No.
Live to die another day. Die to live to die another day.
Should we do a Die Hard? A Die Hard,
We just can't stop talking about Die Hard. we should do a Die Hard review.
Babe, this came out in 88, so, you know, well
Well,
before your time.
It's like Iggy Azalea once said, you know, it's like we're bringing 88 back.
Did she say that?
She did in the song Fancy. You can look it up if you would like. I definitely took that quote out of context, but it's okay.
You're so fancy.
I'm so fancy. On
Oh,
that
he's
note,
making another one, A Day to Die.
what? No way.
Yes, 2022. Here we go. That's when we got to binge them all.
Jeez. All right. Well, on that note, let's get into the closing segment of our show. All right. So, some movies that are coming out over the course of the next few weeks, that could possibly be on our radar. So we've got Encanto, which I think looks really good. I think it's gonna be awesome. Encanto is a Disney movie. It's their next Hispanic
looks
heritage one.
Awful.
You think it looks awful?
I don't know. I just thought like it's good to have two perspectives on the podcast.
What do you think it's gonna be, babe?
Another Lin-Manuel flop. I don't know.
Another has Lin-Manuel had a flop?
Depends on who you ask.
What was his flop? Was it in the Heights?
That one didn't do so hot. I think the words were a little too fast. I don't know.
Could have been. I don't know.
Chemistry wasn't all there.
Well, you know who was in that one that's also in Encanto? Rosa Diaz from Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
I do love Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
It is a solid show.
It's just hard to picture her as like a little, like, cutesy character because she's so like, I don't know, dry and sarcastic on Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah, no, but have you seen her do like late night interviews?
No, I haven't.
So like her voice, that's like a front. Like that's not how she really sounds.
Oh, okay.
She
Yeah,
has
no,
like
it makes sense.
She has like a very high pitched voice. Like, hey, what's up? How's it going? I don't know how to adequately
So
portray
you're saying
it.
she definitely has a voice for an animated character.
Yes, 100%.
'Cause you kind of have to have that certain
no, you
tone,
do.
you know.
I agree.
Like I could never be like an animated voiceover unless it was like for a disgruntled mother or something.
Yeah, no doubt.
You know?
No, yeah, I
do
agree.
you think I sound like that?
What? No, I don't think you would be a disgruntled mother. I think you could be a young señorita.
All right, what else is coming out?
So we also have Spider-Man: No Way Home, the movie I'm the most hype about, and the movie we already have tickets to go see. So hype about it.
He is. It's probably gonna be awful.
I saw a leak that said that on one website, if you look up the cast, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield show up, which to this point they've done at least a semi all right job of keeping that under wraps. I think everyone knows it's going to happen. I think if it doesn't happen, then everyone's going to riot. But what do you think? What are your thoughts on Spider-Man: No Way Home?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm excited. It's like, is this like a fan image? Like, what are you putting up there?
I think it's a fan image. I'm
Oh,
almost
okay,
certain.
with all the Spider-Mans.
Pretty sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. You know, I love the Tobey Maguire ones. Obviously, the third one wasn't the best, but you still had to watch it. But like, I went to the midnight showings of those, you know, and then the Andrew Garfield ones were pretty good. I did not go to the midnight showings. It was definitely one of those things where they were showing them all on TV, and I watched them together in one day. Still good.
Yeah.
But I'm excited. I love Tom Holland as Spider-Man. I think it's great. And I'm just curious to see how they're going to progress in the MCU because they've got so many films lined up for next year. And with, you know, just Eternals and that mess and then all the shows that have been happening on Disney Plus, I think this is going to be a key piece in kind of at least bringing some type of continuity to all of them in some way.
Yeah, no doubt.
Some connection.
I think that with the progression of the MCU into the multiverse, it's the perfect time to do it.
Well, I'm sure that's how they planned it.
I mean, I think to some
Glad
extent. Probably.
they have your approval.
Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
But also coming out soon, Sing 2.
Yeah.
Which I'm pretty hype about. I thought the first one was really good.
I thought you didn't like animated movies.
Well, I never said I didn't like animated movies.
Okay.
I said I was not a huge fan of Christmas movies.
Okay.
Okay. All right. What do you think of Sing 2? Do you think it's going to be... Do you think that the series warranted a sequel?
No, and that's why I think it's going to be cute enough to watch and good enough to watch, but not like award winning. But it could pull out like a Toy Story 2 and be nominated for Best Animated Feature. You never know.
Who knows?
They could surprise us.
Could be like a lot of the Toy Story sequels in terms of success. A lot of people say that the Toy Story movies, I don't know if they say they got better, but I mean, they didn't degrade.
They're all like really good standalone movies.
Exactly.
Like I can sit and watch any of them and be satisfied.
You don't need to be tied into the Toy Story universe to watch a Toy Story
No,
movie.
and I would like genuinely feel all the emotions while watching them. So
Yeah.
And I mean, I got teary eyed on the trailer for Sing 2.
I think it looks good. Bono's in it. Bono plays Clayton Calloway, who is like the big...
when they like sing that song at the end.
I still have... That's such a good song. I love
Oh
you
yeah,
too.
babe.
I love you too. The last movie we'll talk about. There's other movies of significance coming out soon, but Matrix 4.
Speaking of somebody who hasn't seen any from the Matrix series, you would call that insignificant, but someone who has watched the Matrix series, I am stoked. Do I think it's going to be good? Probably not. I'll put that out there.
I can tell you
I don't
that
have high expectations, but I will watch it with or without James. I'll wait till it comes out on a streaming service and I will watch it. You bet I will, but
well, even from the frame of reference of like Matrix 1 and 2 and 3 being good, which I mean I haven't watched them, so I don't have like a strong opinion on way. I tried to watch the first one and honestly it was very much like the first Lord of the Rings movie where you really have to want to watch it all the way through to get through it. It's a little slow moving for me. And I've caught some of the action scenes from the Matrix series and they're all really good. It's just a matter of getting through the like build
but
around.
when they came out, they were like revolutionary. Like not there wasn't like anything being done like this at the time.
No, yeah, I
So
feel
it
that.
was like, oh my gosh, like they're changing the game,
No, yeah, I feel that. But
Okay. And then Trinity was named after Trinity.
she wasn't.
No, she wasn't, but you thought that.
I was
My
like,
dad's just a huge Matrix fan.
I was about to buy into it, and then I realized that it didn't make any sense.
Father, Son, and Holy
Father,
Spirit.
Son, and House of Gucci.
James was literally waiting for that quote to come up in the movie. When it did, he like looked at me and was so like, there it is
It's
from
happening.
the trailer. And although I think the delivery in the trailer was much better than the delivery in the
I feel like it was
the
one of those
film.
things. It's just like in Eternals when that guy tells it's IKEA fall collection, and you're like in the frame of the preview. It was a really funny joke, but after having endured an hour and 30 minutes of Eternals, it was just like, dude, can we just move on from that? Bad timing.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, those are movies coming out. Another one of note that I don't have an image for is The King's Man, which is coming
Mhm.
out, and then West Side Story also.
Yeah, and the one that
Um,
I really want to see is
Oh, there's Kurt Warner. It's American
the
Underdog.
Kurt Warner
That
movie,
one looks so rad.
and I personally really want to see Being the Ricardos. But I also really wanted to see Spencer and all these other. I love movies about real life people. So
Yeah.
again, I'll probably watch these without James. But
We can go catch them. We can go.
okay.
Give
well,
'em a
now
look.
you're.
We're gonna have to drive up to Ontario.
I'll wait till it comes to Amazon. It looks like an Amazon original.
What? It's an AMC artisan film.
Okay, I was just reading the poster. I'm not trying to one up you.
No. But on that note, I have been James Roy, and this has been my lovely wife, the most beautiful woman in the world, Courtney Danielle. And
Thanks.
this has been the Noise Date Night. Thanks for tuning in. Give us a like, comment, subscribe. Let us know how you feel. And maybe give us some input on what we should watch next, based on, the choices given, or
Yeah.
maybe something we're not
I'm
thinking about.
Courtney, and I watch movies every week. And this week, I watched House of Gucci, and I want to know what I should watch next. So you should let me know.
Whoa there, Sporklift. Calm down.
I was thinking, like, I can't think of a good, replacement for Sporklift because that's just really clever. Maybe like,
No, yeah.
spoon down, but that just sounds weird,
Forks up.
or like knives out.
Knives out. Oh no, but this has been the Noise Date Night, and thanks for listening. Please tune in next week. Thursdays is when we release, so give
Good
us a
to know.
listen. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.